Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Big Ten Under 10 on the Hoosier Network. I'm Adam Oppenheim. He's Graham Nash, and we have a packed show breaking down women's sports today. Of course, we will start with basketball. Only one Big Ten team remains as we head into the Final Four. That team is the UCLA Bruins, the overall number 1 seed. They beat Ole Miss and LSU to advance to the Final Four. The other two teams who got knocked out were Maryland and USC. 4-seed Maryland lost to number 1 seed South Carolina 71-67, and a game where the Terps had a 2-point lead at the half. 1-seed USC handled Kansas State but lost 78-64 to 2-seed UConn. Of course, the big news for the Trojans was Juju Watkins tearing her ACL earlier in the tournament. Graham, we're going to turn to you. Could USC have done anything different to beat UConn?
I don't think scheme-wise they could have done anything different. It's just the execution that maybe could have been a little bit better. Kiki Iriefin had 10 points over 40 minutes.
It's not good enough without Watkins.
Exactly. That's not good enough without Juju Watkins. And then on top of that, Kennedy Smith was 2 for 10 from the field. She had 7 points. Similar. Can't do that when there's no Juju. And the team as a whole shot 3 for 13 from beyond the arc. That won't cut it. They did out-rebound UConn. That was going to be their game plan. And this is why I say their scheme was good. They out-rebounded UConn by 11. UConn a little bit undersized, I guess you could say, just inexperienced is probably the better word for it inside. And so Kiki Iriefin and some of the big USC players should have had their way with the UConn down low. And they did. They got those rebounds, turned it into 7 more second chance points, but they couldn't get the shots to fall when they needed them. Kiki Iriefin didn't have a good game. Kennedy Smith didn't have a good game. And UConn shot 45% from the field and from 3. Paige Beckers was on it.
Yeah, she was absolutely on fire in that fourth quarter. Let's turn to another Big Ten team, Maryland. What went wrong, especially in the second half against South Carolina?
Yeah, it felt very similar to the USC, or it is a USC.
Technically, it is
a USC South Carolina IU game where South Carolina just turned up the defense in the second half. That was pretty much exactly what happened. But if you look from 3:25 on in the fourth quarter, this is kind of crazy. Maryland committed 6 fouls over the span of 3 minutes, and South Carolina out-rebounded Maryland 5-1 in that stretch. So Maryland, they just kind of, you don't want to say they choked because it's South Carolina. It's arguably the best team in the country, but Maryland got in foul trouble, and South Carolina turned it on, and the Terps just couldn't come back from it.
That's really the tough thing about playing South Carolina. They're rebounding, they get you in foul trouble, they're bigger and stronger than you. And that is what happened against Maryland in the second half. Now let's talk about the one Big Ten team still remaining. It's UCLA. They face the 2nd seed UConn Huskies on Friday. Will UCLA advance to the championship game?
I'm going to say no.
I'm
going to say no, and it comes down to which side has more star power. And you've got Lauren Betts, you've got Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers has recorded 3 straight 25-plus point games in the NCAA Tournament. The only other player in history to do that is Caitlin Clark, who did in 2023 and 2024. She is putting up a historic run right now in the NCAA Tournament. And for UCLA, it kind of feels like they need to run a little bit of a one-on-one game in order to beat UConn because they have the size with Lauren Betts, 6'7", down low, but can they get it to her every single time? I don't think that Gino, the head coach of UConn, is going to allow that. I think he's going to come in with a great scheme. I think Lauren Betts could be in trouble because every time they get it to her, they're going to crowd her.
Surround her.
So I just don't think that UCLA can win because I don't think they can survive in a one-on-one game for 40 minutes.
So UConn, by how many points will they win?
Oh, man. That's a good question.
Give a rough estimate.
A rough estimate, I will say anywhere from 8 to 12.
Okay. I thought you were going to say like 8 to 20. I was
No. We'll give it a 4-point range, 8 to 12. I think it'll be close, but not super close.
Okay, so you have UConn beating UCLA to advance to the championship game. It's time to switch gears into softball that is really in the thick of conference play right now. Here are your recent scores. Number 5, Oregon played 2 games against Rutgers. The Ducks won both by a ton. 20-1 and 21-2 were the scores. 8th-ranked UCLA handled business on the road, sweeping Maryland 9-1, 6-1, and 10-1. 21st-ranked Nebraska won 2 out of 3 versus Purdue. They won 13-1 and 6-0, but lost 6-2 in the series finale on Monday. Number 22, Ohio State took the first 2 games against Indiana 7-1 and 12-4, but lost on Monday 13-7. Graham, it seems like Oregon has just rolled through Big Ten play to start off with. Are they a level above the rest of the Big Ten?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that they are, and just because if you look at the stats, it's kind of unbelievable. Oregon is top 3 in nearly every major offensive stat category in the Big Ten, and then they have the best team ERA, they've got the second most strikeouts, and the best batting average against. They're just dominant. They're just good. They are a good team, and again, they have that advantage of being able to practice and work together throughout the entire offseason because there's no snow on the ground. It's not necessarily 30 degrees.
There's a lot of rain.
There's a lot of rain, right, but they just look so connected. This team is kind of firing off on all cylinders right now, and they've beaten every ranked team that they have played thus far in the season. That, to me, screams that they are just a level above right now.
Now, there's a couple Big Ten teams who are ranked near the top, and now there's a couple that are unranked. That includes Michigan and Northwestern. Do you think either of those teams could make noise in the Big Ten Conference?
I think that they both could. I'll start with Northwestern. They had trouble early on winning some of those close games, as a lot of good teams can sometimes. But since March, they have won every game that has been decided by two or fewer runs. That's only 4 games, but still, it's a good sign for them because if you're one of those like just above middle of the pack teams, you've got to win the close games against an Oregon because Oregon, they're going to take advantage of any little thing you give them. So I think that Northwestern can do it. As for Michigan, I think that they're definitely flying a little bit under the radar compared to some of the teams at the top like Oregon and UCLA. They kept it really close with a good Duke team who was ranked 8th at the time, but just couldn't quite get over the edge. So it's a little bit of the same thing to me as with Northwestern. Can they get over the hump on the close games? Can they win those that are decided by 1 or 2 runs? And we're going to find out because the Wolverines travel to Oregon this weekend to take on Oregon in Eugene. There we go. We got it. But Michigan, they're top half in almost every offensive and defensive category. I think they're good. They just got to show it now.
Yeah, I mean, the conference of the Big Ten is looking real good for softball. That's what I will say. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. We're going to wrap up today's show back on the court, but with tennis. Number 3, Michigan beat Illinois 4-0 and Northwestern 4-2. 11th ranked Ohio State won against number 24 UCLA 4-1 and 22nd ranked USC 4-1. Number 19 Wisconsin defeated Maryland 4-2 and Rutgers 4-0. 21st ranked Washington beat both Indiana teams easily. First 4-1 against Purdue and then 4-0 over Indiana. 22nd ranked USC had a tough week. They lost to Penn State 4-3 on the road, along with that loss I mentioned to the Buckeyes. The 24th ranked UCLA Bruins, however, did beat Penn State 4-0 after losing to Ohio State. And that wraps up today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to our producer, Kyle Dusek, for making this all possible. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at B1G_under10. And come back next week for our next episode of Big Ten Under 10.